Well, it must be Wednesday night because I'm looking at the original Coach Carter. And knowing that he got a smile on his face, we got a lot to talk about. Not only did his Cowboys win, but there's a lot going on. The NBA has officially started. There's Major
Yep.
League Baseball going on. Great game going on right now with Boston and Houston. And I know you've been checking out the NBA and so on and so forth. But welcome, and I'm Charles Morse with the original Coach Carter. Coach Carter, this is Youth Central Sports. We come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. How you doing, Coach Carter?
Doing well, doing well. Glad to be with everybody once again to talk a little bit about sport from here in the area, in the Tennessee area. Nice, cool Tennessee night. I'm loving it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you because last week when we was talking about the hurricane, did you get any feedback from anybody since the last time that we talked? Because I did find out, that I had some relatives up there, and I did find out that they were affected by it. Do you know anybody that was affected by that catastrophic storm that took place that affected so many?
I didn't have any relatives, thank God, and none of my and as far as I know, none of my friends. But I did have some friends who had some relatives who were actually vacationing in that area, and they were able to get out unscathed. And other than that, I really don't have any firsthand knowledge. But just awful experience from what I've been able to see, reports I've seen, and just kind of keeping up with it. Even since that time, death toll has gone up to about 29, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that the time to recover is going to be years. And and had a chance to hear some personal testimonies of some people who lost their homes, and it's devastating time. And your heart really goes out to them. I can only imagine how it feels to leave your house intact and come back and nothing's there.
Yeah, I had I'm gonna share a quick story with you first, but I called my aunt during the first storm that happened a few weeks ago because I know that they were in the direct path of the storm hitting the Carolina area, but I really didn't call her on the last storm, and I just happened to call her today and talk with her and my uncle, and she said that it as far as for her, that she was without power for close to 5 days, but she went to stay with her daughter, which was fine. But I talked with my uncle and he said there was a lot of debris in the backyard, but everybody was okay. But I did speak with a friend of mine from Jacksonville who Brenda, who actually lives in Orlando now. I happened to call her because I had some tickets to this play, and she loves to, when I have anything like that, I always call her up and ask if she wants to go. And she told me that her brother, who refused to evacuate, stayed. And according to her, he said if a hurricane ever come again, he won't even think about it twice because he got stuck with his family with a tree falling on his house, wrecked 2 of the 3 cars, and so on and so forth. And it took them a while to get out because they had to leave. So they tried to tell him, but he's okay. The family's okay. But as the world knows, it looks like that place was hit. It looks like a war zone,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So. Had a CNN had a guy that decided he would stay and weather that storm, and they asked him, he explained, what it was like to go through that and all, and then they asked him, he said, well, would you do it again next year? Would you do it again? He said, no. Next time they tell me to go, I'm gone. So I think he left out some of the frightening experiences that he had, but it was clear that this was more than what he thought it would be. And next time he did. So I tell you, they have always said that to people. The authorities always say that you don't want to sit this out. You really want to leave. And I think this is one of those times when you got a storm coming at 155 miles an hour.
Yes.
Just makes sense to me that you leave. I know you want to protect possessions, but it got 100. I can't remember. It's been a while since the storm has hit land, at that kind of speed, with that kind of airspeed. Um, so, and look what it did. I mean, just tore brick buildings up. I mean, just knocked. I mean, that's unbelievable. And
Right.
I'm actually surprised the death toll is not even higher.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thankful it's not higher.
I'm, I'm going to share a story with you before we start talking about today's sports and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably can appreciate this. But there's a gentleman that was part of my family that I remember growing up. I always remember that he was around and saw him, heard my grandmother and my family on my father's side always spoke of this gentleman. So, I would see him from time to time. And as time went by, as time went by, I didn't see him anymore. And so I in the late 90s, I saw him. I took a trip to Tallahassee and I saw him just by chance. Now think about this. I take a trip to Tallahassee, I stop somewhere to get some gas or something, and I look up. At this time, he's a highway patrolman. I
Okay.
look and I see his name and I recognize him. And I know he does not recognize me because he hadn't seen me since I was a little child. So I said to him, "Do you know who I am?" This was like in the late 90s or early 2000s. And he said, "No." And once I mentioned who I was, and he just went crazy then because he's very close to my family. He's very close to my grandfather. So that was in the late 90s. Just by chance, Vince, I mean, check this out. My uncle was just talking about him about a month ago, okay? And just by chance, the gentleman that I go water skiing with in Jacksonville, when I post, all the water skiing pictures and everything and video, he sent me a text today, a picture. So I called him up and I said, "Who is this on this picture?" He go, "Oh, I'm sorry. I text that to you by mistake because the person that I'm talking about, his name is Charles Stribbins. So his name is Charles." So he said, "I hit the wrong Charles to send this picture to you." He said, "That's my friend Charles Scribbins." I said, "What?" I said, "Man, you have no idea. This guy is a part of my family." Now, I've been knowing this guy that I've been going water skiing with since I was 7 years old. And we have spent all these years together and was never able to connect the dots because Charles Scriven used to be his neighbor back in the day. Now, I'm telling you the story because once I heard his name and I said, "You got to call him." So he called him and he didn't answer. So then I called my aunt and did a three-way call with the gentleman, Alan, that I go skiing with. And my aunt was trying to explain to him who this guy is in our family. He's not related to us, but he is family.
Right.
Okay.
Right, gotcha.
So, right. So my aunt talked, and so when she finally hung up the phone, and we was getting ready to hang up, I said, "Alan, call him again and see if he'll pick up this time." He called and he picked up, and I said, once I said who I was, Vince, he just started screaming. He just started screaming, right? And then later on in the day, I finally called my uncle because I called him and got those three all of us on the line together, and my uncle started screaming. Now, mind you, and the reason why I'm telling you this is because he was so much part of my family that he said something today that I did not know. He said, "I named my second son after your grandfather. My son name is Leonard, and I named him after your grandfather." And I was like, wow. And then my uncle told me how important this guy was to our family and what he did for our family, how he looked after my grandmother. And there's history. This is the part that I've been trying to get to. He is part of one of the first of the hired in the 1950s. There was 25 black police officers that they hired for the first time in Duval County. So can you
Okay.
imagine in the 50s in the South, in Jacksonville, the part of the group that was first hired as police officers there in Duval County, and he said today he's the only one that's living now. He's the last of the 25.
That's quite a distinction.
Right.
That is amazing. Because I've heard of the group that they had in Orlando. I have read about them. I don't
Okay.
think I actually met and knew that there was, and they had mentioned some other counties, and I do remember Duval being a county that they had talked about. But I didn't, I didn't know anybody, but I just thought that was kind of remarkable in itself. Then here to see that you have one close to you, the original. That's amazing. What history
Right.
that, I mean, he's got some
And
stories you can tell.
right. And so now I got to have him on the Journey 2020. I got to have
Got
him on the
to.
Journey 2020. So, and he was talking about all these pictures he got from back in the day with my granddad and being on the campus of Edward Waters College, because my grandfather
Oh,
was very much part of making sure that Edward Waters College is Edward Waters College. He was the president in 1933, 34, but he was very much part of it years before then, and to the day that he died in the 60s. He went out around the country on many occasions raising money to make sure that college would stand. And so with Charles Scrivens from the 50s on being involved with my family, and the part that he played, because he left Jacksonville and then he became part of the state, and he retired part of the state as a highway troop, somewhere up in the echelons of however they go by rank. But he's been part of the state, and he said he left Jacksonville in 1975. But I
wow.
wanted to share that story with you.
I like history. I mean, that's great history. I would love to hopefully I'd be able to catch him on the 2020 just to hear his perspective on things from then in comparison to today, as he's seen, because that long of a time he's had to see some progression as it has moved forward. Just love to get his take on that.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So to the world of sports, it's official. The NBA has started.
Yes, and it came out with a bang. I mean, really got some good ball being played out there. It started yesterday. Had a
Right.
couple of games yesterday that were good, but they got 11 games out tonight, and
Well,
it's been very interesting so far.
were you? I mean, it's the beginning of the season. It's the beginning of
Right.
the season, and it's kind of hard to say because there's still that filling out process. But I heard Stephen A. talking about the 76ers today, and he said they look like the old 76ers. When they played against the Celtics last night, that they really didn't look any different. But again, there's 83 more games to go.
81 more regular season games
Oh,
to go.
yeah.
I well, Stephen A. has his perspective, and I 100% respect his right to have his perspective. I think what he didn't say that I think he should mention is that Boston looked very well. Boston looked good last night. They were really firing on all cylinders. Tatum had a great game. Hayward and Kyrie came in and provided a spark, and they were able to tame the beast in Philadelphia. Embiid, they kind of slowed him down a little bit. He really didn't have the type of game perhaps you might have been expecting. So I can see where you might be a little bit disappointed, but I do think when you say that, you also have to give credit on the other side of the ball. A couple of teams will come out looking like they're not firing off very well. I watched Houston tonight. They got beat by 20 plus by the Pelicans, and I think there
Oh,
again you look at
don't
here's a team that
don't forget to say that they were at home, by the way.
yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, they were at home. They could have been down the street at the park. It didn't matter. They got the brains. And that's where I think when you talk about it being early, you talk about a veteran team. Although they do have some new faces on there, and they got some adjustments they've got to make. I mean, one could give that argument about they gave up their defensive presence, and it showed tonight a little bit. Now, would the Pelicans be able to shoot that way every night? I don't know, but Anthony Davis just went nuts out there, James Harden did not have the type of game that people would have expected. So that was somewhat of a. Now, I wasn't surprised that they lost the game. I guess I was surprised at the margin and the way they played the game. That was kind of and look, the Orlando Magic won the game tonight. I celebrated. I had to go outside and celebrate that myself. Like I could not believe that, and they were home. The New York Knicks won a game tonight in great fashion.
Oh yeah. I wanted to talk about both the Magic and the Knicks. Well, that was coming up, but I wanted to ask you first about the game last night between the Thunder and the Warriors, and I also heard criticism of Westbrook having that surgery late versus he should have had it earlier. Did you see that game last night?
Yeah, I saw the game, and I think the Warriors showed who they were for a minute, but then they let the Thunder played very well at spurts. They were able to cut that lead down and it brought it back. It was a close game for a while, but then the Thunder just asserted themselves. The Warriors asserted themselves and really got out there and got that thing done. The game may have been, certainly would have been a different, because Paul George didn't do a bad job. He didn't have any help. That's what it was. They really couldn't help him. Westbrook definitely would have been a huge asset. But the Warriors had their spurts, where they had their foot on the pedal. They took it off, but they were firing. Curry was just unbelievable the other night. Now the conversation about Westbrook, I thought personally the surgery was a little bit late, but whatever you guys think best, that's what you do. Because I thought he was going to have that midsummer, so he'd be ready, because he wants to make that run this year, and they certainly want to do that. And with him not being there, you could see he was definitely missed. Paul George did a good job, but he was missed. And the Warriors were a handful. They had some young talent that was playing well last night too. So they're going to be a problem. Now the problem, the concern I have for the Warriors is being able to stay focused and playing at a high level every night. Because I think sometimes they get bored, or they just slow down and people will overtake them if they're not careful. But last night, Steph had them on a roll last night.
Right, yeah. The Bucks beat the Hornets, and actually the Hornets was up. I think kind of late in that game, but the Bucks came back and won by one.
One by one.
Right.
Yeah. I really. To me, I was a little bit surprised about Milwaukee, but in looking at them in preseason, they got a lot of firepower, and they got a new coach coming in. He seems like he's brought some cohesiveness to the team. They got a lot of talent. It could be I picked them to be a big surprise out there this year, and with them pulling off, I was surprised at the Hornets because they have not been playing well, but that was a good game. The portion that I had a chance to see. So they look promising, but Milwaukee did what I thought they would do. They would win that game.
Now you were talking about the Magic. The Magic played the Heat, the Miami Heat. Now,
yeah.
Was that game here in Orlando, or was it in Miami? Because I have no idea.
Orlando. I think it was in Orlando.
Okay.
It was in Orlando. And Dwayne Wade had a chance to go out and put up a couple buckets, but the Magic, I like what the little bit that I saw. They looked energetic. They got out. The big guy played well. He showed his presence out there. The portion that I saw, they were running the floor really well. Played some pretty good defense. So it could be that they're going to have an upswing. I hope so. I really hope that they could have an upswing because it's been way overdue.
The Grizzlies got stomped by the Pacers tonight.
Didn't expect that. I have seen a lot of the Grizzlies from preseason and stuff. I really thought they were going to be a little bit more effective than that. But again, it's early. A lot of young talent they got to bring together over there. So I guess this would be expected, but I didn't think it would be by that much. But again, just game one.
What's funny is that every time I see Cleveland, I got to remember that LeBron is not there because they play the Raptors.
I actually like them better though. They got more ball movement. They get up and down the floor. The ball moves around much better. They share the ball. But I didn't see all of the game tonight. But typically, what I saw in the preseason, I like their style. I like what they had going on. Since you don't have LeBron there to clog it all up. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Lakers look with him when he gets on the floor. But Cleveland I like them more. They just don't have enough. I don't think. I just don't think they have enough talent out there. But I like the movement that they have.
Now, man, the Hawks been bad for so long, man. They got spanked by the Knicks tonight.
Young team, very new coach, new system, a lot of young players. That they're going to see a lot of that this season. They're going to see a lot of that. They have been projected to be a better young team, and they still got time. But they, first game out, a lot of those guys got the jitters, and they just got taken advantage of. I think. I haven't seen the game yet, but just looking at it overall. A lot of young players.
The game we were talking about earlier with the Rockets and the Pelicans just came out and just slapped them upside the head at home. The Rockets were at home.
Yeah, Anthony Davis is a handful. That young man game has changed so much. He's become so effective, and a lot of the NBA guys are saying this could be the MVP this year. Because the young man has been playing well, for my opinion, for the last couple of years, and he just showed his dominance tonight against those guys. And I was kind of surprised with Capella being there. That I didn't expect them to have that, but they were beating them on pick and rolls, nice passes, and a couple of times they were scoring nobody around the basket. I was surprised at that, but that's typical of Houston, though, because they don't play any what? Defense.
Yeah. With Jimmy Butler and all of that's been going on with the Timberwolves, they played the Spurs tonight. What's the word on Jimmy Butler? Did he play tonight?
Yes, he did play
right.
in the final of the game, but he did play. He had planned to play. They had planned to put him on the floor. A lot of the conversation around that is that Jimmy we're going to go ahead and play, and I think that by coming back around All-Star break, they're going to make that trade. I think he wanted to have him on the floor to get started. Certainly, they want to try to convince him to stay by showing. But I think there's a rift between him and the veteran players, based on all the activity that's going on prior to this point. So he's gonna coexist now, but I still think he's leaving. And so some of the prognosticators are saying the same thing, that the Timberwolves asked. He went to practice the other day. Jimmy Butler did. And immediately right after that, the asking price went up so high, nobody wanted to touch it. And I think that's what Thibodeau wanted, so he could have him in practice, get him on the floor. But come All-Star by All-Star break, I think he will be traded.
Okay. Well, the Suns are leading the Mavs right now, and the Jazz are leading the Sacramento Kings. It's actually halftime right now. The Jazz,
it's halftime.
Halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Dirk is out, I think, for a week or so, for the Mavs. Yeah.
The Mavs got some new talent coming in. I didn't, in Philadelphia too, I didn't get a chance to see how Markelle Fultz was playing. He kind of got lost in the mix. I don't even remember seeing him on the floor. I know he was out there. But if he could come to life, that's going to mean a lot to them. And I think those young players they got over there for Dallas are going to be okay, but they need Dirk on the floor.
Well, is the Nuggets are playing the Clippers, man. I mean, what you think the Clippers going to do this year?
Well, the Clippers are kind of in a must-do situation. I think they've been very supportive of Doc, and rightfully so. But I think it's time now that Doc's got to produce. They took the pressure of being he was doing a dual role job, GM and head coach, and they took the GM job off of him so he could focus on coaching. I think he's made some interesting trades to try to get the talent he wants. They got to get in the playoffs, and they got to go a little deep in order for I think Doc to save his job. I think they love him out there. The owner loves him, but hey, you got to win. We got to look better. Let's put it this way: we got to look better. And I think I'm hoping this is his year when they really put a very competitive group on the floor.
Well, I don't know, Vince. With what he had with Chris Paul and those guys, I think at that point that they probably when they had that team was going to go as far as they went. I don't think because they're out in the West, man, and you know the West is tough. If they was in the East with that team, maybe so, but in the West, they probably going to be maybe a eighth or ninth seed, barely making the playoffs.
Well, that could be true, but I just think that they what they have done, if they and one of the problems they've had, they weren't healthy. And that really come back to bite them a couple of times. And then you had a little dissension inside the ranks. That didn't help. And I think now they've cleared out all of that. I've got the challenge he has now is you got young talent. So you now got to do Doc does a good job, in my opinion, of developing talent. But now he's got to develop that talent and get it to get out on the floor and be cohesive. They've got to be competitive. That's the bottom line. I mean, regardless of where they fall in the ranking, they have to be competitive. They need to be in that 8. They got to be in that 8.
Was there any surprises for you in college football this past Saturday?
Overall, no, not really. Not really. I'd say for the games that I was able to watch, and I watched so many of them right now, that I really thought that I thought Nebraska had pulled off a victory, and they lost it in the last second, I think it was, or over last play or something. I was kind of excited for them. I thought for a minute UCF winning streak was about to end, but they rallied back like good teams do, and Nebraska, my heart went out to them because I really thought he had pulled, because they looked different, they looked better, they looked like they really wanted to get out and get it done, but just could not get over the hump. Couldn't get over the hump.
Were you surprised with the LSU win?
Surprised? I wouldn't say I was surprised because I kind of had an expectation for them that I kind of thought they met the expectation. So I wouldn't say I was surprised.
No. In Florida, I think Florida.
Yeah, the Gators played really well. I think the part about the Gators that I was made aware of that I did not know, they had a lot of injuries, and they had a lot of those kids were back, and they looked like they were healthy. I mean, they really got out there and played very well, highly efficient, to say the least. So they look really good. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain that, but they really pulled that thing together. So if they're going to be that healthy and play like that the rest of the season, it's going to be very, very interesting.
Do you think we will ever have like an 8 playoff team? 8 teams, maybe 10. Let's just say 8. You think we'll ever see an 8 playoff team?
10, I don't think you'll see. You may. There is a low percentage right now, but I think eventually you may see an 8-team playoff. But I think it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. Like anything, they got to work their way through it.
You know how you and I go back and forth on that whole thing. We always call them paper champions, because they don't care about actually who's the better team, so on and so forth. It's all about the money and how they go about doing what they're doing, because they easily can make more money, because if they did have a playoff, all it would do is just make money. But it's just something about whatever that mindset is. I don't know. Because in every other sports, even Division II, Division III, they have a playoff.
Well, the thing of it is that if you keep score, it's competitive and people want to win. And so as long as you're keeping score, now to me, if you want to devalue the championship, then stop keeping score. So obviously we're not going to not keep score. So they're going to put that situation where people want to win. There lies the problem of equity, of trying to make it equal for everybody. You're going to leave somebody out.
But still, it always seems to be the good old boy network and how they do what they do. When
it does appear that way.
Yeah. And see, that's what bothers me, is that you do what you're supposed to do. You go undefeated, and then all of a sudden they pay you no attention. I don't know. There's just something wrong.
Every year there's an awful lot of conversation about the system that they come up with to try to what they say is be equitable and find the right teams to play and all of that. I believe them. I just think the system's broke. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I do believe they're trying to fix it, but they just don't know how to fix it because you cannot make everybody happy.
No,
You just
no,
can't
no,
do it.
no, no. That is
So
that is very true.
and I don't know, yeah, I don't know if how they're trying to minimize that, but it's a it's a tough nut to crack. And no matter what they do, they leave somebody out or they upset somebody. So it'll just be an ongoing battle, and eventually somebody's going to wear them out till they have 8 teams. I don't think you'll see 10, but I think you'll see 8.
Did you get a chance to see Kawhi at all tonight?
A little bit. I like what I saw. The portion that I had a chance to see, he looked good on the floor. He looked comfortable. He looked like he's back. He made a couple shots. He took himself to the basket, played some defense. I really like him up there, and I really think that the situation, if they can convince him or make him feel comfortable, that Kawhi could very well stay there. I mean, it's early to say that, but that's what they're looking at, is really trying to show him that we really want you here. We want to build around you, and we want you to come do what you do, and we're gonna put us on your back and take us down. So he looked good to me.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you an impossible question. I'm gonna ask you an impossible question.
All
But
right.
in today's athlete and how they think, and I'm gonna say get into the minds of today's athlete. Okay, today's athlete in that situation, being where he is, he could own the whole Canada.
Yeah, he could.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, yeah, if he
Right.
and I think
So
that's what everybody's hoping for.
right. So he could just like they probably would put his name. I mean, put his picture on the flag. You know.
Yeah.
But then it's the L.A. concept. It's the L.A. thing. It's the athlete that's now the rock and roll star versus somebody from where we came from. It probably would mean a little bit more that Canada would look at us, or any place like that would recognize us and embrace us and love us versus the Hollywood. And I guess I'm asking, in today's athlete, is that really, I mean, what's you think is more, what would be more important to you? I guess I should ask, what would be more important to you, knowing how today's athlete is when it comes to the limelight? Let's just say I can go to Hollywood and make movies and commercial, because I think there he can make his money.
Well, the LA dream is not for everybody. Not every athlete is going to be able to take full advantage of that. That's a unique market for unique players, and I do think Kawhi could fit in very well, but he's not highly marketable out there for what he wants to do and who he is, his personality. That's LA is not the right place for him, in my opinion, unless he just wants to play basketball. Now, LeBron and some of the other guys like Paul George decided he didn't want to go out there. He would rather stay in Oklahoma. And I think it's because of the feeling of he likes being in that market, being on a team for the feeling of that team aspect, rather than being on a stage every night as you go out to the LA and do that. Now, that's what his ulterior motives might be. LeBron's ulterior motive is business after basketball. Great place for him to be. It's the right place for him to be for what he's trying to do. It's a high profile market that helps his off the court business, as it did for Magic and all those other guys. I think Toronto is an emerging market, is huge up there. If Kawhi wanted to turn it, if he really wanted to focus on it, I agree with you. It could be a great place for him to be, and they're trying to convince him of that. That Kawhi, you can own this town. You could be mayor of this bad boy if that's what you want to do, and we're going to build around you because it's a unique market, and I think he fits that market. So the days athlete is just trying to find everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to team up and let's go put together a championship team, and they don't care what market it's in. certainly your high profile markets. A lot of players will go to LA now because LeBron is there and they're thinking LeBron can take them to the promised land. And there's the possibility in time he will. But it's not a place for everybody. A lot of athletes can't make it out there. But I'd like the Canadian market is committed to the game of basketball. They'll do whatever it takes. Toronto itself it's become a basketball city. They love it, and they are embracing him. And if he can go out and do what he did for the Spurs, he'd own the town. He'd own Canada.
Let me see if I can ask this question again. If I can ask it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
With you coaching in the years that you've been coaching, as you look back years ago, and the impact that these rock stars have on these young minds today, how is it different than when you coached years ago versus coaching now and dealing with what they just walk in the gym with their mentality, the idea of the game, and how they don't necessarily understand from the standpoint how you should coach me, but coaching them now and them seeing what they're seeing, and a lot of times they're trying to emulate today's athlete in what they think they should be and how they think they should act out on the court, the field, or whatever sport it is, because this is what they see nowadays. How is it different for you as a coach?
You have to change with the times. The athlete today is limited in many cases of history of basketball. A lot of these kids don't have any history of the basketball. They only know what they see right now. They also look at what they've been taught and how they've been taught and what they've been allowed to do. So old school, if you would, we try to bring the ethics, the morality, the discipline, because the X's and O's have to change a little bit, but the fundamentals of the game and how we approach the game, I think, remains the same. How you coach this athlete, you do have to make an adjustment because today's athlete is different. He in many cases, he's not as skilled. He's segmented. He has certain things he does well, but he's not an all-around player. Some of the fundamental things that you think they should be able to do, they don't do because they spend so much time shooting a three-pointer, trying to get a crossover. They can't shoot a free throw. They don't have to. I've actually encountered kids don't know how to make a layup. Going off the wrong foot. But he got a crossover and he can shoot a deep three. And it's a different world out there, and the game itself has changed. I listened to some NBA coaches who were saying, they were talking about the changes in the game. So many of these are forced changes. You can't help it. It's just the way the athlete is today. He can't do some of that. Some of these athletes can't do some of the stuff that old players used to do because the league has changed. The way you play the game, the emphasis of the game has changed. So to me, to be effective, you've got to go with the times, but you cannot, in my opinion, give up your principles. I want a disciplined team. I want a team that cares about each other. I want a team built on relationships with a desire to accomplish a goal together. We're unselfish, but we are dogmatic about what we're doing, but we're unselfish. We share the basketball and we play defense. Now, no matter what, if I'm coaching mice, that's going to be my philosophy. But that doesn't change. But you have to take that athlete today and try to fold him into that while also being respectful of what he is today. You got to teach him.
What's the coach from Florida State that's now at Texas A&M?
Jimbo Fisher.
Now, you and I come from an era that would be very common mm-hmm. that a coach would grab the face mask and say, right. Look, okay, we come from that era. Now, when you do that, that's headline news, Vince. That's headline news, man.
Well, again, times have changed. Parents, administrations, a lot of these games are televised and high-profile markets, and you're listening. People are listening to what the fan says, or the fan sometimes finds that offensive, and they're trying to appease them. They're trying to make coaching more friendly than adversarial. I agree with that to a point, but I also think we got to coach. Now, I don't want to abuse a kid. I definitely don't think you should abuse a kid, whether it's verbally or physically. But I do think there's you have to set a standard, and that kid, and I'm in my opinion, has to meet that standard. But you also have to have a personal relationship with these kids. I think that's where we start first. And once you do that, you can do anything. You can get that kid to go through that wall for you if you build that relationship. Rather than
Right.
pushing him through the wall, he'll go through it on his own because he believes in the concept. So we got to spend a lot of time not nurturing but building relationships. And once you do that, and I've seen that on throughout my career, whether it be basketball, the military, business, or whatever, that's a key factor, in my opinion, that has always given me a measure of success was building relationships first. And I think that's what you got to do now.
You know, I've never asked you this question, but have you taken any part of your military training into your coaching
Oh,
philosophy?
every day, every day. The kids I've been fortunate to coach with that I'm coaching right now, without knowing it, I have shaped them into that same philosophy. They don't know it though. They don't. They don't. I kind of camouflage it a little bit, but they are functioning in the same principle. They just don't know they are
That's
because it
funny.
sounds different. It sounds
Right.
different to them, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing because you can't get away from it. That's what I know. I mean, that's what my uncle taught me, and I took it well. I really passed that class, and I believe in that. So that's what I bring. But they don't know it. They don't know it. But a couple of them have gone on to play college ball and come back and have appreciated it and said, "Well, coach, I see now. They shoot, man. What they're doing and what you used to do, shit, this is easy what they're doing now compared to what you were doing to us."
Right.
Or they're saying what you did made us ready for what they're doing to us now. And I appreciate that.
Right. Okay. Well, before we get into the NFL, it's time to take a 3-minute sprint, man.
I'm ready.
Oh man. Let me actually. You know what? Let me see here. Okay. Here we go. All right. What is your favorite color?
Blue.
All right. So is mine. Would you wear pink?
Not pink, but I wear mauve.
Okay. Have you ever seen a ghost?
No. No.
No?
No. No.
Have you ever felt you needed a bodyguard?
No.
Okay. Where were you when President Kennedy was shot?
In school.
Okay. Because everybody remember that. I mean, I can remember where I
Yeah.
was.
I remember I was in band. I was in band. It was the sixth period, I think it was. We were in band. I
Yeah.
forget. I never forget that.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever been in an earthquake or felt an earthquake?
Yes.
Oh, really? Where?
In California.
Oh, wow. How old were you when you learned how to swim?
Ooh, 12, I think.
Have you ever had to save someone from drowning?
Mm, uh, yes and no. My brother jumped in the deep. He said he could swim. I thought he could. He jumped in deep and he couldn't. I had to reach up and pull him out. So I guess yes, I've saved some from drowning. He was about to drown.
The answer, yeah.
So I guess the answer is yes.
What's the longest direct flight you've ever taken?
From the United States to Germany.
About how long is that?
Back when I did that, that might have been 12 hours,
Okay.
something like
Can
that.
can you cook grits?
Yes.
Have you ever dated a woman, a girlfriend? I'm sorry. Have you ever dated a woman that was 4 years older or more than you?
Yes.
All right, player. You, I asked you last week. Do you remember the first time you told a girl you loved her. No, no,
Mm.
no. I'm sorry that she loved
That she-
you. But do you
yes,
remember the first time you ever told a girl you loved her?
yes, yes,
Have you ever had a girlfriend your mother didn't like?
yes.
And what did mom say about this girl that she didn't like?
Told me I don't like her. But she said, "Now, if you like her, then that's all right. But I don't like her." And I knew
Okay,
what that meant.
now
That meant I couldn't bring her around the house anymore.
but was mom wrong?
No, Mom was right. She was right. She was right. She was right.
Yeah, that's usually the case. That's usually the
Yeah, she was
case.
right. I couldn't
Because
see what she saw, but yeah, she was right.
right, and it's funny because my mom liked everybody. She liked everybody, right? And she didn't try to get into your business. She left you alone unless she saw you doing something wrong. That's the only time
Yeah,
she would say something.
yeah.
But there's only one girl that my mother said I don't like her. Only one. And that was a girl that my brother dated that he actually almost married. And she was a nightmare, Vince. When I say that sister was a nightmare, she was a nightmare. But later on, when I talked to her, we found out why. She's bipolar.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was the only girl that my mom said I don't like her. And my brother was in love with that sister, and she
Yeah, I
caused
know
my
that.
brother more nightmares than I can ever imagine. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
he had 2 kids by her. Wow. Okay,
Well,
let's go over the NFL.
but before we get there, let me mention a couple of things that I think
Okay.
is out there to talk
Okay.
about. This college FBI
Oh
investigation is
yeah, yeah,
coming.
yeah, 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 yeah. I was talking about that the other day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's going on with that?
This closing arguments went out today. I think we're going to see some verdicts coming out of New York tomorrow. It's closing argument with the 3 men committed fraud by conceding cash payments they had made to families of top basketball recruits. And some of your big Dukers in there. There's some question about Zion Williams, although they have that's under some consideration. A young man out of OCP, that's at North Carolina, freshman. What's his name? Oh, I can't think of his name right now. His name popped up as some concern, and they've got several guys that are looking at, and they have found and this executive from Adidas. They're going to be closing arguments with today, so we're going to be hearing more about that very, very soon. And I think there are other investigations that are going on. So a lot of people are thinking that this has gone away, but what they're doing, from what I gather, behind the scenes, they're talking with a lot of people, and they're approaching them and getting their testimony. So I think we're going to hear even more about that shortly. Interesting comment from Calipari. Calipari
Okay.
thinks that since one and done is going to be eliminated, that the NBA should pay players that don't go. Let me see. He wants to end. He's going to end. Wait a minute. He wants the NBA to pay players to go to the G League. So he's saying the removal. Let me quote him. He said supports the removal of the one and done rule so that high school athletes can skip college and go straight to the NBA. However, he believes there should be an educational compensation for those who can't secure a guaranteed contract and are forced to settle for NBA development league. I'm struggling with that a little bit. He said, I've got the solution. The NBA wants these kids in the G League, so you want them to do all of this. Everyone that goes into the G League is guaranteed 8 semesters of college education. Doesn't make it. Now, part of that makes sense to me to some degree, but the kid that's doing that doesn't want to go to college anyway. That's why
Right.
he's going right out of school, right into the G League. So you're saying if he doesn't make it, then I'm going to pay for him to go to college. But he didn't want to go to college.
Right.
And that's why I think it's an interesting concept, but it doesn't match what the kid is doing today. So consequently, he's saying, well, then bring him into my program for 1 year, and then let him go from there on to the G League. That kid, there are no statistics that I yet, but I'm just knowing his academic performance is probably under par. He's probably not. He's barely getting back because all he came to do was play ball. Now, some of them are doing very well who wants to stay, and they're bringing their grade point averages up. But part of his concept makes sense to me, but that other part, I can't agree with that. I really don't think that's the right way to approach it. I think allowing the kid from high school to go try out the G League. If he doesn't make the G League, then he has some other options he can take. He can go to college. Maybe he can come out and apply for a scholarship or try. Maybe you give him eligibility to play in the collegiate level. But the NBA pay for that? I don't think so. I disagree.
You said it though, Vince, because that player already has the mindset, and I feel comfortable saying this, but college is not the priority.
No. For a lot of
College
the
is
kids,
not the
it's not.
priority. That dream is
It's a
that
means to an
thing in
end.
which he been told that he's a superstar in the American dream and becoming that guy, that somebody that told him that you're going to make it in the NBA, and that's all that matters.
Well, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that for that kid. I still think a 4-year degree is good for both from the academic side and the athletic side. I think it prepares them. It gives them maturity. They grow in a system. They get some additional training. Yeah, some of these kids come out, they're ready to go. They from a basketball perspective, but the maturity of it, because the NBA is not a babysitting service. You got to be on point. You got to be able to take care of yourself, manage that money they're going to pay you, and all the things. And I think you get some of that when you go through the collegiate program, especially some of your high profile programs. But a lot of these kids, they're not trying to pass. If they do, it's just enough to be eligible to play. So why not just let him go to the G League right out of high school? And if he can make it, he makes it. If he doesn't make it and he wants to go to college, then allow him to come in and he plays. Don't take his eligibility away from him. But the problem is, if he goes professional, he can't go back collegiate.
Right.
And so now that's where I see where he's trying to get at. But that's a decision the young man has to make. That's the decision he has to make. So I found that to be very, very interesting that's out there. I'm interested to see what happens on these court cases relating to these bribes, if you want to really accurately talk about that.
Bribes. Wow. Yeah. That's interesting.
And Coach K, of all people, said he think overall that college basketball is pretty clean. Now, okay, well, all right, Coach K.
Man, it's just so amazing when you get caught up in that. It's just amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I guess what's the saying? Time will tell.
Oh yeah. Well, he's gonna feel the pressure of it all. I mean, hopefully, I want to believe that everybody wants to do it the right way. We know that's not happening. We know that a lot of times these guys are, and a lot of times the head coaches, I believe they know, but they have a plausible deniability. But somebody on the staff is doing that, and it's a lot of game playing going on out there. It's happening every day, and even with all this investigation going on, and people are possibly being indicted, and there's still people out there they're still doing it. But so they're going to have. It's going to be interesting, and I talked with a couple of people who don't believe even after this is going to help clean it up. I hope it does, though, because I think the player is the one that's being affected. Because a lot of time this money is not going directly to the player; it's going to his representative or his family or someone from the family. So the player's not even getting any of the money itself. He's being bought and sold, and I'm struggling with that.
Well, let me ask you a crazy question. Let's just say there's money that's being exchanged. I mean, I already know the answer, but I'm just saying, let's just say the money is being exchanged down to a cousins, and it
Mhm.
doesn't seem to be directly associated with the athlete.
He's getting it though.
Right, right,
Yeah, he's getting it. He may not be getting the money handed to him, but he's getting the favor of what the money can get, or
right.
the favor of what the money can buy. So
No,
that car, he,
well, no. What
he
I'm
gets
saying is,
part.
no. What I'm saying is, the money is being given and is underneath the table, and I'm saying it's being disguised, whereas
Oh yeah.
somebody who trying to seem as if though they're not associated with the athlete, and then that takes place, but you really don't see that money. Do you think that happens in that sense? But because the money will probably be spent on him later on. But do you think that
Well,
happens?
no. Well, here's what's happening. The primary cases that they're talking about now, that they're influencing where players go. So they're going to AAU coaches telling this middleman or man comes to the AAU coach and say, hey, we like Morse. What you know what's going on with Charles? Well, Charles wants to go to college. Where does he want to go? He want to go to university. I can make that happen. I can get him there. And at what cost? So you got to compensate me. So in other words, you're buying him for his commitment. That money will filter through however many hands they want to do that, however they want to get it to it. The kid gets I think he gets a benefit out of it somewhere, but not nearly as much as the money, because they're talking about $1,000 of change in hand, $10,000 here, $40,000 here. That's not going directly to the player, although the player may benefit from it a little bit later, but he's not getting the full effect of that $30,000, $40,000. Like for instance, they're buying parents houses and cars and getting them jobs and stuff like that. That's a payoff. That's a lot of that payoff looks like, so that young man can have the things that he needs, and then you send him to the right programs. He's gonna get a stipend and a scholarship, so he don't have to worry about getting the money. It's about getting him over there. That's what the money is for, to get directing him in a specific location. So, does he actually get to see the money? I would say no, but he gets the effect of the money, the benefit
Right,
of the money. Yeah.
right. Well, again, I have said this for years. If you go to any college campus, if you look deep enough, you'll find something. I don't
But
care
there's no
what
question.
college. I don't care what college you go to.
I 100% agree, because it's competitive. You got to be competitive. So
Yeah.
it's going to happen. But it's going to be interesting to see what the impact, what they come up with. And these early trials are going to give us a forecast of what we can look forward to down the line. Because some of the bigger boys haven't brought them to the table yet. But they're sending a preview, if you will, of what's going to be coming down the line. And this is what happens if you don't cooperate with me and tell me what I need to know. This is what's going to happen to you. So we'll see soon. Now about that NFL. Go Cowboys.
Hey man, you know what? The Jaguars, I'm thinking they probably going to win maybe 6 games, maybe six
Yeah.
games. Because they started out, they looked good. They blew
Yeah.
it in the playoff last year. But
Mhm.
I'm really not a Jaguar fan. I would like to see them, do better. But
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. What you think of that Chief Patriots game?
Oh man, I thought Chiefs had that. I mean, I got to give what's his name credit. They Brady came up with some big plays down the line that put him in that position, but it was probably one of the best games of the week. I really thought it was. I never counted Kansas City out. Young man struggled for a minute, but when he got back on his feet, the quarterback, and got that thing rolling, it was very competitive on both sides. It was just a matter of a play here, a play there.
Right.
I really was pulling for Kansas City though.
Yeah. I was
And I
really
thought
surprised.
we give
It's
the
funny
Cowboys.
because I was surprised, and I thought about you, that the fact that the Redskins beat the Panthers, I was like, oh man, I guess but that was a good win for them. I mean, I was shocked that the Redskins actually beat them.
Nah, I needed them to lose, but that's okay. We all right.
No, no, no,
We
no,
got
no, 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 no. I'm just talking about the fact that the Redskins. I wouldn't have picked them to beat the Panthers, but
see,
I don't know. if the
They're in
Redskins
the
are
division. We don't want them to win.
right,
They're in our
right. But
division.
are the
We don't
Redskins
care.
any good this year?
Well, they had a couple of bangs, but I don't forgot what their record is. Let me look it up real quick. I don't know what their record is. Uh, let's see here.
And I don't what is Gruden doing over there with those Raiders? Because you,
Getting his head beat in.
because you know they got spanked by the Seahawks 27-3,
Yeah, 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 yes, they did. Yes, they did.
and I'm like,
Um,
wow. You know, I thought they would be a little bit more competitive,
I
but
thought they would too, but I also understand that he's dealing with, again, young players. It's going to take a minute. It takes a minute to get that thing exactly the way you want it. But you should be seeing signs of a little. In my opinion, you should be seeing signs of it coming together. But it's struggling out there, as far as I can tell.
I was very surprised to see the 49ers play the Packers as well as they did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was too. That young quarterback is that young. They put on a good show out there, and but Rodgers, man, he's. They talk about Brady, but Rodgers, in my opinion, is just as dangerous.
Yeah, and
Just as dangerous.
actually Sherman hurt him on that last penalty, man, because they had him.
Yeah,
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 they
yeah.
had him.
And but so interesting to say the least. Uh, that I was surprised. So, but we'll see. It's what, game 6 or
Yeah,
7?
6. Well,
Game
yes, yeah,
6,
yeah. Well, I mean, coming up is week 7 coming up, but last week
week
was week
7,
6.
week 7 coming up. So we're getting there. We're getting there fast too, because this time is passing by. The Spurs are you watching that? They're ahead of the Timberwolves in the fourth quarter. 2 minutes left. They're up by it's a 3-point game now.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is a replay I'm looking at.
Right. Timberwolves lost.
Yeah, Butler had 23 points though.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he said he was gonna show up and play.
Okay. All right. Well, tomorrow, I'm sorry, not tomorrow, but Thursday, the Broncos plays Arizona.
Uh, ooh, I'm gonna go with Denver.
Yeah, man. Denver been looking like I don't know. So and Arizona has been a disappointment this year. Okay, the
They've been
Titans against
struggling.
the Chargers.
Ooh, that's gonna be a good game. Uh, I'm I'm believing the Chargers are gonna take that.
Panthers and the Eagles.
Yeah,
Ah,
for Fran's sake, I'm gonna go with the Eagles, and they in my
the
division. So I go
Vikings
with
and
the
the
Eagles.
Jets.
Oh, that's gonna be. I'm gonna go with the Jets on that one.
Oh, okay. The Bills and the Colts.
Yes, the Colts look terrible. I'm gonna go with the Bills.
What's the gentleman that came over from the Raiders for the Bears? It's the Bears and the Patriots.
Yeah,
Is it Mac? Is the last name Mac?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's Mike. Yeah,
He was having knee
uh,
problems. He was having I think his knee was hurt. I don't know if he
okay,
playing or not.
that's tough. Well, who are they playing? The Bears play who?
Patriots. Brady.
Yeah, I got to go with the Patriots. I hate that, but I got to go. I don't think the Bears can overtake them.
Okay. The Browns and the Buccaneers. That's kind of like an even thing right there.
I'm pulling for the Browns. I'm gonna pull for the
Okay. The Texans and the Jaguars.
man. Jaguars. I really thought the I'm gonna go with the Jaguars. I think they're gonna bounce back.
I don't know about that one. The Lions and the Dolphins.
Yeah, boy, and that's even too.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go with the underdog. I'm gonna go with the Lions.
The Saints and the Ravens. Ravens got a tough
Oh,
D, man.
that's gonna be a good game there. Saints. I like the Saints though.
The Rams and the 49ers. Man, the Rams been playing some great ball.
Yeah, I got. They really have. I'm gonna have to go with the Rams too.
The Bengals and the Chiefs.
Chiefs,
Giants and the Falcons.
Falcons,
And I saved this one for last. The Cowboys and the Redskins.
Cowboys, Cowboys. We gotta beat those. That's how you talking about somebody we don't like. That's somebody we don't like right there.
There,
That's our
it's a,
that's our that's our crosstown rival right there.
it's a it's a 4 o'clock game, which means they're probably playing it in Dallas, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, if they're playing it in Dallas, then I would probably give it to the boys, to the boys.
Hope, hope, hopefully we come off of this win ready to play ball. Don't let that win go to our head. It was a good win,
Yeah.
but we gotta keep playing.
All right. Well, sitting here looking at this game, it's at the bottom of the seventh, and Boston is up 7-5.
I see the Dodgers won earlier,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
So,
I'm ready.
man, I love this time of the year. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, all right. Well, this is Youth Central Sports with the original Coach Carter, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. And don't forget to tune in to the Journey. Um, Vince, I did a very good show. I did a part one and a part two. We were
Okay.
talking about Amendment 4, Amendment 7, so on and so forth, and some of the amendments on the ballots. That's so very important. Had a lot of viewers, but
Good.
just want to say that this coming election is a very important one. And so we're asking you to please vote, encourage your friends and family to vote, go out and vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but it's
Just
a
vote.
very important election coming up. And please, 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 please go out and vote. Please do not sit at home. Do what you need to do to get to the polls. Whatever, early voting starting coming up real soon. So you just make sure that you do that. And again, your vote counts. And
Absolutely.
there's been too much of a sacrifice, and too many people have sacrificed and died for you to have the right to vote, and you don't exercise that right. So
Yeah, it is very important no matter who you're voting for. But you need to vote. You need to cast a vote. Your voice needs to be heard, because I really believe that's where we're going to have this change. We're not even talking about as much as we're talking about party over party, but I think all politicians need to know that they have a constituency they need to be loyal to. They need to work for, and I think that happens when you cast your vote. So please get out and vote. Vote your conscience, whatever way you want to vote. I don't care, but just vote.
right, all right. With that being said, Amendment 7, Amendment 4, on down the line. So there's some amendments on there that's very important. And as a matter of fact, Vince, one of the most important ones is that they're trying to give for the people who were arrested and they were arrested and marked as felons. You know, they take away their right to vote.
Right, right.
But
They give-
they're
they give-
trying to say if you serve your time, if you did everything you're supposed to do, we're not talking about people who were arrested for, murder and violent crimes and those type of things. It's those that were arrested and it's a nonviolent crime and so on. And they did their time. They paid out everything that they're supposed to have paid. They all have paid the price that we're trying to give them the right to be able to
Sure, right.
vote again, and it's well over 1 million people here in Florida that can't vote right now.
Yeah, I worked for a brief time and really wanted to work more with the restorations of rights for convicted felons, because I really think we want to bring them back to society, but we want to restrict them. And I think if we're going to bring them back, we're going to let them back. We need to give them full rights to come back and vote and drive and so on and so forth. So I think that's very important. That's a crucial amendment. It's also another vote cast toward your objective, whatever that might be. So, definitely think that's a great one. I remember I voted for that one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's us, and we're just trying to share it with you. Again, you can join us on the journey every Monday at 7 p.m. That's www.thejourney2020.com. And we're here at Youth Central Sports, where we come to you again live every Wednesday at 11 p.m. And that's www.youthcentralsports.com. Well, blessings, Vince.
Thank you.
It's always
Look forward
great
to it.
seeing you, man. I still
Always
say
pleasure.
I still feel like a stepchild because you left me, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I still enjoy seeing your face and talking to you. Love
yeah,
our
that's
relationship.
always
Love
my
you,
pleasure.
man. And you
Love
every
you.
night and
Yep.
every morning, you in my prayers.
I appreciate that. You're in mine as well. I really appreciate it. And we will be together again soon.
All right. I'm Charles Morris, and the coach says, enjoy the rest of your week. You be blessed.
Enjoy. All righty.